Welcome to Queen's Lariat Podcast. I'm back for the third episode of the podcast, and today I will be discussing my 2024 matches of the year. Once again, I'm only covering WWE, Stardom, and Marigold. So if you like WWE, Marigold, and Stardom, I think you might like this episode. Okay, so before I get into my actual 2024 matches of the year, I just want to talk about this weekend's yesterday's Stardom's pay-per-view, Dream Queendom, and just little thoughts on it. I thought it was a pretty solid show. It was okay. It wasn't like the best at any measure, but it was a pretty solid show, and I would have to say, like, my match of the night would have to be Not Support versus Starlight Kid for the Wonder of Stardom Championship. I also really liked the ending of the Saya Kamatani versus Tam Nakano match for the red belt. For some reason, I just found the end very funny. You know, the post-match stuff with Saya forcing Tam to put the red belt around her waist and Tam just crying. It was just so humiliating for Tam. And with that said, I really like Saya Kamatani's new character. She is of course one of my top 5 favorite wrestlers right now, and I'm happy to see her finally getting that red belt. But other than that, one thing I was disappointed at, we didn't get the Suri versus Konami match. But other than that, it was an okay show. It wasn't too bad. The Micah versus Natsuko Tora match really wasn't my cup of tea, because I'm not really into like those real brutal hardcore matches. But I mean, for others, it probably was a very good match. But that's just some of my thoughts on Dream Queendom 2024. And with that being said, let's go ahead and start my 2024 matches of the year. Now, the way I'm going to present it is I got 3 matches from WWE, 2 matches from Stardom, and 2 or 3 matches from Marigold, depending how you see one of the matches. And I'll get into that more when I get to Marigold. But I think I'm going to start with my WWE matches of the year. So the first match I have, and I'm going to discuss, is Io Sky versus Bayley at WrestleMania from this year. Now, I rewatched all of these matches over the weekend to kind of refresh my mind, but I knew which matches I wanted to have. But I watched them over to kind of refresh my mind going into it, and just to make sure the matches were still the matches I thought they were, and the matches I personally think are match of the year. So the Bayley versus Io match was very good, and it's probably my favorite Io match from WWE this year. Like, it was so good. She turned back the clock for some of those moves in the match. It seemed like Io from Stardom in that match, specifically with the triple moonsault move she does. Of course, she didn't connect on the last one, but it's still cool to see. And of course, the counter out of the Rose Plant she did in that match into the flip. And it was just really good. And let me get into a little bit of the story of the match. So, of course, the match stems from Bayley's ousting of Damage Control, where she got basically kicked out, beat out of Damage Control by Io, Asuka, Kairi, and Dakota when Asuka and Kairi came into Damage Control. But, you know, that feud, it's kind of been simmering. It was kind of simmering since 2023 when she won the WWE Women's Championship, and you can go all the way back to like Money in the Bank, where Bayley was kind of taking opportunities away from not only Io, but from Dakota. And Io kind of got upset, like, you know, when are we going to get our chances? You're always getting the title matches. When are we getting our chances? So they had enough. They was fed up, and you can say that Kyrie and Asuka probably did get in Io's ear and kind of pushed that forward more, but it ultimately ended with Bayley winning the Rumble, her having this huge face turn, and basically a lot of mean girl tactics by Damage Control. But the story ends here at Mania with this fantastic match between Io Sky and Bayley. Bayley looked very good in the match and came off as this real big baby face during the match. The crowd was really into it. Like I said, we saw some spectacular moves from Io. Ultimately, match ending with Bayley being crowned the women's champion. One thing that I didn't like is the follow through of it. You never got a real follow through for Bayley or Damage Control after this match. But it was a very good match, and that's my first WWE match of the year for 2024. Okay, so my next match for WWE for match of the year 2024 is Sol Ruca versus Kalani Jordan and Heat Wave. Now, I'm going to start this by saying I know this match was probably not a lot of people's cup of tea, but the one thing about wrestling is you have different kinds of matches to fit people. All matches aren't going to be like in-ring wrestling spectacular where you get 30 minutes of just fantastic wrestling moves. Some matches are just plain fun to watch, and that's what this match was. Sol Ruca is always impressive with her moveset. Kalani is very impressive with her moveset, and basically it was a babyface versus babyface match, and it came off good. We had the moves were so spectacular. I can't understate this. From Kalani Jordan doing I think it was a poison rana off the top rope to Sol Ruca. You know, Sol Ruca always does her she always does these amazing like handspring moves, and just amazing to watch. Another thing that was kind of going unnoticed in this match is I think they both developed pretty good like actual wrestling moves too, like technical skills too, and that was shown in this match too. I honestly thought this match could have, at the time of seeing it, could have went either way, but I think this match added a lot to Kalani Jordan's North American Women's title reign. I think it was her second defense, and it was a spectacular match. The crowd was really, really into it, and like I said, it was a babyface versus babyface match. I really wanted like a best of 3 series from it, because I think they could have gave us a lot more too from this match, but it was a good match. And like I said, I really like Sol Ruca and Kalani Jordan. They're both really fun wrestlers to watch. Like, I know a lot of people enjoy like technical wrestlers, or, you know, but it's just good to see a change of pace in wrestling where it's just these two women who really don't have like a wrestling background or a technical background or anything in wrestling or amateur background, just two really, really fun wrestlers who took their sport that they came from, gymnastics, and made it fit into wrestling really well. I think more so than anybody else, but very good match. Really, really, in my opinion, it was a match of the night in that show. So that's my second women's wrestling match of the year for WWE. And then the last match for WWE I want to talk about for match of the year is a fairly recent one, and that's the Women's Iron Survivor match from Deadline. This match was fantastic. Okay, it started off kind of slow with Julia starting off with Rhea Sinclair. I mean, it was slow, but at the same time, I get what they were doing. They were kind of doing like a they were kind of doing like technical wrestling, and I get that, but for a lot of WWE fans, it's kind of like I don't know. I don't think they really get into that. But as soon as Sol Ruka came in, the match picked up. She literally came in the ring with a springboard double drop kick, and that match took off from there. Then the next person you had coming in was Zarya, who came in and showed a lot of her power. I think she did. One of the moves she did that really impressed me was a spear to Sol Ruka, who I think she was coming off of a flip or something, and Zarya caught her with the spear. And then, of course, Zarya getting put through that table by Sol Ruka and Julia, and that very good spot. And like I said, Zarya came in, showed off her power. She also did a moonsault, which I was impressed with. I always like seeing powerhouse wrestlers doing stuff outside of their moveset or their perceived moveset. So very good match. Stephanie Vacker looked good too. Of course, I like the stare down between her and Julia. And then Ren Sinclair becoming an underdog was pretty good. And I'm not even a Ren Sinclair fan, but I think she does good with her facial expressions. She came in and she knew what role she played in that match, and she did pretty good as well. And of course, we had our winner, Julia, and I think that was a right pick going forward. And I kind of think we got an idea of where they want to go with this women's division going into 2025. I feel like this match was a glimpse into NXT in 2025. But very good match, very solid match. I think all the women did a great job in that match. So that's my last match of the year for WWE. Okay. So next I'm going to talk about Stardom. All right. So like I said, I got 2 matches from Stardom for match of the year. And my first is going to be Suri versus Starlight Kid from this year's 5-star Grand Prix. And not much of a story going into this match. You know, it's just a tournament match. The one thing I do want to talk about is I'm not really a huge Starlight Kid fan, but she is a fantastic wrestler. And she showed that keeping up with Suri in this match. And, Suri is a very, very good striker. She had some fantastic kicks in this match. Like, it was some kicks in this match where I thought she literally knocked Starlight Kid out. But like I said, Starlight Kid kept up. Suri had some fantastic submission moves, and she also got the win with a submission. Not a long match. It was about a 17-minute match, short for Stardom, but like I said, it was part of the 5-star Grand Prix, but still a great match. Starlight Kid, fantastic wrestler. Suri, fantastic wrestler. So you're going to get a fantastic match out of that. All right. With that, I'm going to move on to my second match of the year candidate for Stardom, and that's Natsupoi versus Saori Anou for the Wonder of Stardom title. Now, the story here it started back when Saori Anou lost the white belt to, I think her name is Mika Iwata from Sendai Girls. She lost the white belt to her this year. And I remember after that match, you had Natsupoi coming out and cutting this fantastic promo telling Saori, who was just devastated by the loss, to get up and pick herself up and to, just get it together. And that just showed me how, important their friendship is, especially going into this match and everything. So, Saori Anou eventually won that title back. And I would say it's partly thanks to Natsupoi being such a great friend and pulling her out of that funk that she was in after losing the title. So this leads us to Saori Anou versus Natsupoi. I forgot what pay-per-view it was at, but this match was fantastic. It was full of emotion. It was full of passion. And of course, fantastic moves. You had Natsupoi pulling out all of her kicks, fantastic kicks, and you had her I forgot her finisher, fairy something, but it's a very cool looking I think it's not a crossbody, I forgot what it's called, but it looks very good. But anyways, both of them fighting like crazy. Of course, the end, you had them trading roll-up pins back and forth, and Natsupoi finally was able to take advantage and win the match. And just a lot of emotion from Natsupoi at the end of the match, winning that white belt. This is a match that I wanted to see when I first started watching Stardom, and it delivered for me anyways. But anyways, those are my 2 Stardom Match of the Year candidates. So next, I'm going to move on to my Marigold Match of the Year. Also, before I do that, I want to mention a special mention to a match that I originally wanted to put in this list, and that's Micah versus Momo Watanabe in the 3 Stages of Hell match from not Dream Kingdom. I forgot what it's called, but anyways, I just did not feel like rewatching that match. It's almost a 60-minute match. It's 3 matches in one, but it was a fantastic match. Micah's reign as the Red Belt champion is underrated, and it also, I think I'm not like a huge Momo Watanabe fan, but she did very good in that match. And of course, you had interference from Awadate, and it was a very solid match. And like I said, I would have been put it on this list, but I just did not have the energy and strength after watching Dream Queendom to rewatch that match. But anyways, moving on to my Marigold Matches of the Year. The first one I want to talk about is, of course, probably everybody's favorite Marigold Match of the Year, and that's the Queen of Queen match from Summer Destiny, Io Sky versus Utami Hayashishita. And let's just get a little bit into the story of this match. It was basically Utami's dream match. So when Io left Stardom back in, I think, 2018, Utami was first, that's when she was starting out in Stardom. And one of the things she did was ask Io for a match before she left. And Io told her, basically, you're not ready yet, but one day we will meet again. And that day was Summer Destiny. So, like I said, the story is basically Utami being able to fight one of the wrestlers she looked up to, and one of the reasons she went to Stardom was Io Sky. And also another point in the story of this match was this was Io Sky's first match back in Japan in 6 years since he signed with WWE. We all know that WWE typically did not work with a lot of promotions. So for Io Sky to be able to go back to Japan and work a match for the first time in 6 years was excellent. Now, one thing I want to say about this match is the crowd was fantastic during it. They were really into it. They really got into it. They were cheering. They were on their feet. They were clapping. It was fantastic. And the atmosphere and the air around it with Io Sky coming back was almost as if a god stepped out from the gates of heaven. Like, they really respect her in Japan, and the crowd just ate it up. And she came off as this huge legend, is what she came off with. Now, the in-ring work was very good. I felt like Io was in control of the match for most of the time, but going towards the end of the match, Utami really got in some good offense as well. But you can tell she was like, this is like somebody I've never wrestled. Like, this is something I've never seen before while wrestling. Like, all of Io's moves, very impressive. Io brought that one of a kind WWE charisma and showmanship to the match. And like I said, it was a very good match. And at the end, Utami did end up losing, but Io left her with some inspiring words, and it was a fantastic match. Very good. Like I said, my first pick for match of the year from Marigold. All right, so now my second pick for match of the year from Marigold is going to be Miku Anu versus Mirai, and Miku Anu versus Bozilla at Summer Destiny for the United National title. Now, this match, the story behind this match was basically Miku Anu and Mirai had 3 previous matches. All of them ended in a draw. So, the first part of this, well, you could say it's 2 different matches, but the first part of it was basically to determine who got to fight Bozilla in the finals. So, you had the final match to decide between Miku Anu and Mirai. No time limit. They got to go, and oh my God, it was just some of the best in-ring work I've seen all year. Both wrestlers put a lot into it, and I'm just going to say this, I think Miku Anu and Mirai are probably the best 2 in-ring workers in Marigold right now. Like, just fantastic work from both of them. It was really really a brutal match from both of them, but Miku Anu finally was able to pin Mirai with a Styles Clash, and as that match ended, it went straight into the second match, Miku Anu versus Bozilla for the United National title. Now, when this match started, I thought Bozilla was going to come in, dominate Miku Anu, and win that title in like 5 minutes. But no, what ended up happening in this match was Miku Anu outsmarting Bozilla's power, and Miku Anu overcoming Bozilla, being fresh and being so powerful to win that title. Now, Bozilla is getting better. She's not there yet. One thing I think Bozilla has to learn as a wrestler is she has to learn, I think, the mental side of wrestling, like how to counter stuff better, how to outsmart your opponent, because that was her inexperience in this match was used against her. And like I said, Miku Anu, we all know now, fantastic United National title reign. This is where it began. Like I said, I just counted this as one match, but, her versus Mirai. And it was really like it felt like 2 different styles being shown in this match. The in-ring prowess of Mirai that Miku had to overcome, and then the in-ring, and then the power and, of course, the freshness of Bozilla she had to overcome. And she came off looking like a star in this match. But fantastic match. One of my favorite matches of the year from Marigold and in wrestling in general. But yeah, those were my matches of the year in my 3 favorite promotions. It's been a fantastic year in wrestling, especially for women's wrestling. I think in WWE and in, all promotions, women's wrestling has evolved so much to where you don't even want to categorize it as women's wrestling. It's just wrestling now. Everything is it's getting good. It's only going to get better too in 2025. Like I said at the beginning of the podcast, we had a ton of new champions crowned at Dream Queendom from Stardom. We're going to have coming up First Dream from Marigold, and that looks like a pretty stacked card. We're going to have Raw debut on Netflix, and we got a couple of good women's matches on there as well, and New Year's Evil, of course, with Julia versus Roxanne for the NXT Women's title. I just think that we're bringing on and ushering a new era of women's wrestling starting in 2025, and I'm ready to watch it all. Thank you for watching the Queen's Lariat podcast. I hope everyone has a wonderful new year. I will probably be back next week for another episode of the Queen's Lariat podcast. Subscribe. You can follow me on Blue Sky and Twitter. Thank you. I'm out.